Good evening, everyone. Good evening. See, Karen is on already. So, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Looking forward to having a wonderful 2023. By all accounts, 2022 was tremendous. We made lots of strides in 2023, and I just know through the grace of God that 23 is going to be even better than 22. And so, a number of you guys. Really, took a big leap forward. And so I'm hoping that you know you guys even go even further, and then many of you get into the game. My goal always for you is to buy and hold at least one property. Buying and holding at least one property is really a game changer for you. Now your goals may be a little higher, but just one property. There's lots of opportunity. We'll talk about that. We got some questions. Lots of opportunity. One thing, and I'll repeat this in a minute, but one thing I don't want you guys to get too hung up on is what you're reading in the paper or hearing on the news as it relates to the market, as far as investors are concerned. I put two properties on the market last week, and within one day, we got an offer. And within 2 days on one, and within 2 days, we got three offers on another one. So there's still lots of cash buyers out here, still lots of investors out here. And so the key to your success is just getting out here, finding properties, finding deals. Now, Friday, we're going to be at the Bowie Library. Bowie Library at 11 o'clock. We'll be live, lunch and learn. We're going to be talking about branding yourself and how to find these deals in 2023. So try to be there if you can. Try to be in person. We'll have we'll have some lunch and we'll network but the key to your success is finding these deals, and these deals are out here for many reasons. Most of for the same reasons there were deals last year. Lots of foreclosures, forbearance agreements are up, and many other reasons why interest rates are higher. Just the foreclosure rate is a lot higher now, so there's a lot of distressed homeowners. And so, if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. And Keith, you want to say anything before we get started?
No, I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and I'm excited about the new year. I want to just have a really, really good year. Me, myself, as Greg always teaches us, it's also about getting in front of people and letting them know what you have to offer. So I'm really, for my own sake, there are some goals that I have, but I want each and every one of you guys to really achieve this year and grind. And so like Greg always likes to say, let's go.
Let's go. Let's find some deals. Let's make some money. And again, if you guys have any questions, there's a question. Is this the platinum coaching? We do have our platinum coaching students here, but we have a variety. Some of my real estate agents are here, and you're here. And so whoever's here, you have questions, we're here to answer as long as you guys have questions. So go ahead, Keith. What's the first question?
All right. Well, Greg, Charlene has a question. She wants to know if you have a house that needs rehabbing, is it a good idea to have an open house and invite contractors so that you can get estimates from the contractor so that you can get their references and their proof of work? Is that a good idea?
So Charlene, I've never seen that happen. I've never seen I've never seen that happen probably for a variety of reasons. A contractor wants to be able to go through the property on their own to see, so they can see the property and maybe talk to you about, exactly what you want and, what they want to bid. If they see that there's a number of other contractors there, they're going to feel as though it's probably a waste of their time. In their minds, it's a waste of time anyway. Some contractors make you pay to have them even come look at the property. And so I haven't seen that, but it's not to say that it's a bad idea. I've just never done it. And I don't know anyone who's ever like held an open house and had 2 or 3 or 4 different contractors looking at the house at the same time to give you a bid. A lot of them are the better ones are busy, and they would just say, just go ahead and pick one of these other guys. And Dana's going to be on the call. Key, why don't you hold that question?
Okay.
Because Dana's going to be on in about 15 minutes. And so we can ask him his opinion since he's a contractor.
Okay. So Brian Gregg has a question. Is it a good rule of thumb or is there a good rule of thumb you should use regarding the tax assessed value on a property with light to no rehab needed?
And so, Brian, I don't think so. The tax assessment is really only for the county or the city. It's what they assess, what they think the property is worth, so that they can then charge property tax. So they have a calculation, and they say, okay, this property's they think is worth $300,000. They have a calculation to determine what property taxes you're going to pay. It really has nothing to do with after repair value or as is value or anything like that. And so I would say no. I very rarely look at the assessed value. And then sometimes the assessed value is wrong. There's in some markets, and we may be going into that market now, where the assessed value is just too high, especially once if property values start to plummet. And then you can then go to the county and say the assessed value is too high, and they'll bring them down. But I never use the assessed value for as is value, as is. I want to look at the property or after repair. I'm going to run the comps, get the after repair value, and then get the repair costs, and then just plug it into the Mayo formula. 70% of the after repair value minus repair costs. That's going to give you your maximum allowable offer. And so that's how you do it. I wouldn't look at the assessed value.
Okay. Greg, Valerie has a set of questions tonight. Question number 1 is, what is the outlook for investors in this new year based on the economic forecast of inflation and pending recession?
I'll answer that, but save that for Tarsha too.
Okay.
Tarsha may be coming on in about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So from a mortgage standpoint, let's ask her.
Greg, when a house does not sell at an auction.
Well, I'll go ahead and answer that. What Valerie asked.
Yes.
What? Ask that again.
When a house does not sell at the auction.
No, the first one. Her first question.
Oh, what is the outlook of investors in this new year based on the economic forecast of inflation and pending recession?
So as I said at the outset, I think the outlook for 2023 is tremendous. I think there's lots of opportunity for investors. I do think that we are going to see more foreclosures, unfortunately, but fortunate for investors is opportunity. As I said, forbearance agreements from the pandemic are now due. Homeowners can't afford that. There's going to be a lot of auction properties. There's just going to be a lot of properties out here for investors. So it's a great time. I gave the example earlier that I put a property on the market, so to speak, last week too. And on one of them, and they're both in DC, one of them had a buyer in one day. The other had 3 buyers in 2 days. So these cash buyers are out here. And so I wholesaled those properties. And so if you're looking to wholesale, buy and hold, fix and flip, whatever it is, there's tons of opportunity. I actually get opportunities from 3 or 4 different sets of people every single day. And so Ashton Auctions, I get a text message every day. From Four Brothers, I get a text message. From Brad's company, Express Home Buyers, and this other one that you guys have heard of out of Virginia. Well, all those are out of Virginia. Market Pro, they have something new. So they're finding deals. So there's lots of opportunity. Lots of opportunity out here. Mm. And so the forecast is great. It's wonderful. It's great. Now on the flip side, if you're holding, and we'll let Tarsha talk about it, interest rates are a little high. And so the opportunity to find opportunities are out here. But if you want to hold, interest rates are going to be a little high. And so you just have to watch that. But they are going, at some point next year, interest rates are going to come back down. But I would take advantage of, if you're holding, as I will be this year, I want to take advantage of the good deal. And I want to get the good deal. I know interest rates, when I do refinance, the interest rate's going to be a little high, but at some point they're going to come down. I'll just refinance. I refinanced one of my properties last year. And so we have Dana Lewis in the house. Happy New Year, Dana.
New Year's. How's everybody?
Pretty good. Could barely hear you, Dana.
Oh, really? Oh, let me see if I can adjust.
I think we can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah. Everything
Okay,
good?
good? Everything's good.
How's that? Those properties over in Capitol Heights?
Well, I'm in the renovation stage of the last one, the one that's across the street from the one that you all saw. So I guess I'm about 2 or 3 weeks out from being finished the renovation.
Good. Okay, so those of you guys that don't know, Dana's in our program. He had a number of properties, and I'll let Dana tell us, that he either bought last year, wholesaled. He had a tremendous year last year. And but by trade, he does HVAC and plumbing. And so Keith, before we get to some personal questions with Dana, ask Keith that question that
the one that Charlene asked.
Yeah.
So Dana, Charlene wants to know, for a house that needs to be rehabbed, is it a good idea to have an open house and invite contractor only, so that the contracts can come to provide their estimates, their references, their proof of work? What's your opinion on that?
As far as the open house itself?
Yes. Is it a good idea?
I think that's a great idea, because it's important to be as efficient as possible. Instead of, it can be very time consuming, one contract after the other. Also, you have everybody in the room knowing that they have competition. So there's a psyche element to that. So I think that's a great idea.
And so Dana, I disagree, just FYI.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Right.
And
right,
so
right.
when she invited you as a contractor and to do the HVAC and 2 or 3 other, mechanical contractors, how would you, and you're in the room with them, how would you feel about that?
I would feel, because that's kind of the normal way of things. So it's kind of the normal way of things. It's, unless even you, Greg, when your contractors, you have contractors that are very dedicated to you, but they know there's other contractors lurking in the shadows. They know that. And that helps to keep contractors honest, because they know, you don't want a contractor, let me put it this way, you don't want a contractor thinking that they're the only one. in your life, because you're dealing with human nature, and a person could get carried away with that, thinking in their mind he needs me. So that's why I said there's a certain psychic element to having everybody there at once. But Greg, but tell me what is it that, what do you see the issue is with that?
I just see, let's say somebody like you go in there, there's 2 or 3 other HVAC people in there. You're already busy. You're going to stop to give an estimate. I said a lot of contractors, they don't even like giving free estimates. Sometimes they even make you pay just to come over to give an estimate. But you go in the house, there's 3 other mechanical people, you're already busy. You might say, just go ahead and just use one of them. I'm busy.
That's true.
And then you're, like you said, there's competition. You might feel in your mind you got a low ball because of the competition, and you got all this other business out there.
So that's true, Greg. So I guess it depends on who your contractors are. Maybe I should put it that way, because that's very true, because that can happen.
I was just looking out for you, Dana.
No, I appreciate that. But on the flip side of that is that you either doing it in my face or you're doing it behind my back. So as a contractor, and then I come and I don't get the job, now the next time you call me, I'm not going to take you seriously.
Yeah.
Because you didn't tell me that you were looking at other contractors. You just said, Dana, I want you. You gave me the impression that you wanted me to do that job. So I feel like you tricked me out of an estimate.
Yeah.
That's a little harsh, but I'm just saying how a person can look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that contractors know that you get other bids, but to have it right there in their face, and that's just my opinion.
Right.
And I think the proper way of doing things is to get 3 estimates, at least 3 estimates. I think that's the proper way of doing things. But I would think one at a time, not everybody in the room, looking around and competing against each other. Because as I said earlier, the better contractors, they already have a lot of business. And some contractors that I know, they won't even come unless, you pay them to give you a written estimate.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So like I said, it depends on who you're dealing with and where you are in the game, Greg, because a lot of people on this call are probably just getting started. Right. And maybe haven't been through the process. So for them being brand new, I guess there's a give and take to that.
There's a give and take, but I think what I would recommend to, who was it, Keith? Charlene?
Yes.
Charlene, definitely, and I know you are because I've talked to you, get a number of estimates. And then, and quickly, because I know you've already bought that property, and you already have your financing. But then try to hurry up and make a decision. But get at least 2 or 3 more people in there, so that they can give you a good estimate. But I think all contractors know, unless you have a relationship with them, that you're going to have other contractors come in. If I call Dana, I have a relationship with Dana. Hey, Dana, can you go over and do this? He knows I'm not calling anybody else. But those that you don't know, and you might even want to tell them I'm taking other bids. You might want to tell them that.
So Greg, I have a question. So once the bids are in, how would you suggest that Charlene make her selection?
Ooh, that's a good question, Dana.
Right.
Dana, I'm surprised nobody asked that question.
Because the cheapest price is not always the best price.
So, quick story. I know we're starting to run out of time. I bought this property in Bowie, and I got 3 estimates. Now, this was years ago, probably 10 years ago. Went with the lowest estimate. Lowest estimate turned out to be the worst person. Didn't know what he was doing. I went in there, was putting 2x4s on the floors for the floor joists. It was just horrible. I then go back to the guy that's actually the most expensive guy, fired the cheapest guy. Now he had put on a 2-story addition on this house in Bowie, detached home in Bowie. The cheaper guy did. Now I go back to the most expensive guy and say, I need you to come back and outlook. I went with someone else and it just didn't work out. I went back out and guess what he told me, Dana?
What? It's gonna be more.
It's gonna be more. You know why?
Right.
Because a contractor, they don't really want to go behind another contractor.
Correct.
Especially if the walls are closed or they've got to guarantee their work.
Right.
And so it's going to cost more when you got to go behind another contractor.
Correct.
The contractor wants to really start from scratch.
Right.
And so to answer your question, you should get referrals. You should look at what some previous work, but don't necessarily go with the cheapest person.
Correct.
It could bite you in the butt.
Yes.
And go with someone that's highly recommended. Highly, highly, highly recommended.
I agree.
That's how I would answer that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, if I would have went with, in this case, the more expensive guy, that job would have got done. It would have got done quick, and I would have saved a whole lot of money.
And I would like to add, Greg, that when you do find that good contractor, to treat that contractor good.
Yeah.
Tip the contractor, treat him nice, be pleasant. It's a human being you're dealing with, and try to hold on to them because, as you know, it can not go so well when you're dealing with contractors.
Yep. Okay.
Greg, you want to move on with some more questions?
No, I think Dana is saying that I need to start tipping him. Is that you think that's what you're saying?
Put it in the chat box.
But that was a really good question. Key, I think we got a couple of questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Let me see. Iris is asking, in renovating a house, should the outside, I think she's saying, should the outside be completed last? I would say not necessarily. Not necessarily. What I like when I'm really renovating, the outside can be done in most cases at the same time as the inside. And so if you've got some contractors, if you got a crew, and say, for example, you're doing roof, windows, and siding, there's a separate crew can be doing that while you've got carpenters, plumbers, electricians, and HVAC people on the inside. And so the outside doesn't necessarily need to be done last. Everything has to be coordinated because there are some things on the inside that has to coordinate with some things on the outside. There's some plumbing that needs to be ran that goes on the outside, things like that. But they can be done simultaneously, especially if you've got a job that you've got to get done quickly. You can have a crew on the outside and a crew on the inside. Now, I don't recommend having 2 or 3 different crews on the inside, like a plumber, HVAC, and a electrician all working on the inside. I'd like to have one at a time so they're not in each other's way. But when you're doing that, let's say the electrician is on the inside, you can certainly have someone doing siding or roof up on the roof, or roofer on the outside, so you can get that project done quicker.
Right.
How do you determine where your property line begins and where does it end? And so that's you just got to get a survey. And so you can get a boundary survey. There's two types of surveys, boundary and I forget the other one. But it's a survey, and then so at settlement, you can get a survey. You can go down to in DC, it's DCRA, to see where your property line ends and begins. But if you're having an issue, like you want to put up a fence or something like that, then you've got to get a survey done. Now, back in the day, it was a requirement at settlement to have a survey done. But here lately, lenders aren't requiring surveys. But you got to get a survey done. And there's a number of different survey companies that you can call. Is the BRRRR strategy, is that a good option in Baltimore City? That's a good question. And so I would say, for the most part, yes. I mean, I use the BRRRR strategy in Baltimore. One thing I will say, though, is in Baltimore, we traditionally use 70% of the after repair value minus repair costs. Baltimore, I actually use 50%. I want to get my properties at 50% of the after repair value minus repair costs. And the reason why I use 50%, and that's just me personally, is because I want to get it well below market value, because I know in Baltimore I'm gonna get little appreciation. So I want to get a really good deal going in, and I have. I mean, this last property I bought for, I think I bought it for $50,000 and paid a $10,000 wholesale fee. And after repair value is being conservative, 180. And so I try to use 50, but that's just me personally.
That's good.
In DC, so Iris, you want to go to DCRA. You can actually go down there and they'll give you like the plat. And then if you want to order a survey, you can do that. Let's see. Iris says, my neighbor keeps putting his trash can in my front yard. Okay. So I think that's why she wants a property line. I think that instead of going down to DCRA, I think Iris, you should just get a dog, like a pit bull, and every time they come put the trash out there, you get a pit bull and have the chain to the pit bull just long enough that it doesn't exceed your property line. And if the neighbor gets bit, they've crossed the line.
That's the line.
What you think, Dana?
Yeah, that would definitely do it.
Yeah, they've crossed the line, Dana.
That would do it. Correct.
Yeah. Get a dog, Iris. You don't need to go down to DCRA. Get a dog. You come here on Tuesday nights to get your answers. We got answers for you. All right, let's see. Okay. All right, go ahead, Keith. What else you got?
Give me a second here. Greg, when a house does not sell at auction, is it still an opportunity? And what are the next steps?
So when it doesn't sell at auction, unless it's a really, really, really small bank, the plan is for the bank to either give it to there you go, Iris. She says she has a blue nose pit bull.
Ooh.
Yeah, that blue nose pit bull. You just got to go out and measure the chain that you hook them up to. You got to measure it so it doesn't go past the property line. So that's your next step, Iris. It's the chain. You got to measure it.
It's to be accurate.
Yeah, you got to be accurate.
To avoid lawsuits.
Yeah,
be accurate.
Because if the blue nose pit bull, if he bites the neighbor and the chain is accurate, at least you could say that, hey, he was on my property line. All right, where were we now?
If the house doesn't sell at auction,
house doesn't
is it
sell
still
at
out?
auction.
Is it still an opportunity?
The bank either gives it to, if it doesn't sell at the auction on the courthouse steps, the bank generally gives it to a real estate agent to put it on the MLS, or it will put it on other various online sites. But pretty much, if it doesn't sell at auction, they give it to it becomes what's called an REO, real estate owned by the bank, and a real estate agent puts it on the MLS.
But is it still an opportunity for the investor?
Not until the REO agent puts it on the market.
Okay. Why would
I have a question, Greg. Can I ask you real quick about that? So at that point, if it doesn't sell at auction, would the price drop at that point?
Not necessarily. So the reason, generally speaking, the reason it didn't sell at auction is because it didn't meet what's called the reserve. So the bank says, I'm gonna put it up for auction. I'm not going to sell it what's called absolute, meaning I'm gonna sell it to the highest bidder. I want to get at least 275,000. Now, if they bid below that, I'm not selling it. It's not absolute. They bid above that, then I'll sell it. And then
and banks will hold on to properties like that?
No, they're not going to hold on to it. They're going to give it to a real estate agent to put it on the MLS. And they think.
But I'm saying if it didn't sell in front of investors, why would it sell on the MLS?
Because on the MLS now it's opened up to the whole world. It's online. It's open up to the whole world. At the auction, there's only a few, maybe 20 people at the auction, and then the agent can market it a little better. But now it's a process. Once it's on the market, and let's say it's on the market for 30 days, now they'll start bringing it down. And then at the auction, there's really only investors there. Owner occupants aren't at the auction generally.
Right, correct.
When it's on the MLS, now owner occupants are seeing it. They're seeing it on Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and sites like that.
Right.
You okay, Dana?
Yes.
Okay. Greg, why would a reverse mortgaged house be in foreclosure?
Generally, sometimes with the reverse mortgage, let me text Tarsha. She can answer these better. Generally, sometimes with the reverse mortgage, there's either well, let's just put it this way, not to make it complicated. With the reverse mortgage, the bank will foreclose if the homeowner, let's say, passes away, and they give the like the children an opportunity to purchase the property, and they don't. Now it can go into foreclosure.
So, Greg, that's what I'm dealing with now. So the Capitol Heights property now, that's the exact situation, is that they tried to foreclose. They gave her.
Oh, the bank tried to foreclose? Okay, go ahead.
They were in the process of foreclosing. And when I found the owner, which is somebody I went to school with, when I got in contact with her, I had her call and they gave her a 6-month COVID extension. That ended in December. And then I got under contract. So that's why I need to hurry up before something crazy happens.
So was she making payments?
No. She wasn't making any payments. That's why I was in foreclosure. She didn't know what to do. She was stuck. And she was going to let the house go until I got in contact with her. And I said, let's call them. But when we called them, they asked her, well, why haven't you done anything? She said, because I called and because of COVID, I couldn't get anywhere. They said, okay, we're giving you a 6-month COVID extension. That was back in April of last year.
There are, generally speaking, with a reverse mortgage, there's no payments. There is a reverse mortgage with payments, and if you fall
this one had
behind that, but
Right.
we'll I'll get some better. I'll get a better answer for that.
Okay.
I just text Tarsha and see if she could come on.
Greg, what are some actions to take when there are not any survivors of a property?
What happens is that the court, the judge will assign a personal representative, generally an attorney. It still has to go through probate, but the court will assign an attorney, and that attorney, you've got to buy the house through that attorney.
Okay. Here's one more. Let's see here.
So you're saying if they die intestate with no will and no survivors,
Right.
yeah, and so the judge will either take that over, give it to an attorney to sell, or the city or the county will take over the property. Because, if there's no survivors, they die, then now, they're going to owe property taxes.
Right.
And so the city or the county will take over and then sell it that way through a tax sale.
Here's another question, Greg. Can you provide some recommendations on how to communicate with a homeowner that will be talking to their insurance company after a house situation?
Wait, ask that again.
Recommendations on how to communicate with a homeowner that will be talking to their insurance company after a house situation.
Now, when you say a house situation, you mean like a fire, like the house burned down?
I'm guessing that's what Valerie might be referring to. Maybe some type of house damage.
Okay. So bottom line is, as long as a homeowner owns the property, whether there was a fire or it's a short sale or what pre-foreclosure, whatever it is, as long as the homeowner still owns the property, then you just simply talk to the homeowner.
Right.
And so to answer the question, you've got to talk to the homeowner and negotiate with that homeowner, and you negotiate at a price that's indicative of the condition of the property. You still run the Mayo formula, but if the house is burnt, there was a house in Woodridge in Northeast many years ago that I bought. It was a house fire. Fire went all the way through the roof. Now, for me, it was a great opportunity because it was a fire, and I could use that fire as leverage. And so I made an offer that reflected the damages. And my offer was much, much lower probably than it should have been, because the fact that the fire went through the roof didn't bother me, because I was going to take the roof off anyway and put on another level anyway. And so the only thing that, and so, the wall joists were burnt up, a lot of other things that we had to do. But I was able to use the fire. You're able to use mold, termite damage, things like that, as leverage. Here's Tarsha. You can use those things as leverage to really get a good deal. But the bottom line is, even with all those types of properties that I just mentioned, you're still using the Mayo formula. And so you're calculating your repair cost to include whatever those damages are, to fix those damages. So Keith, you want to ask Tarsha? Tarsha, we were, hi Tarsha, Happy New Year.
Mhm.
Hi,
Hi,
Tasha.
everyone. Happy New Year.
Hey, how you doing?
Tasha, we got a number of mortgage questions. One being reverse mortgage. So, Keith, you want to ask her that reverse mortgage question?
Yeah. So, Tarsha, why would a reverse mortgaged house be in foreclosure?
They didn't maintain the property. They didn't pay taxes on the property. They didn't pay insurance on the property. So even though you're not paying for there's a mortgage payment during the period of time that you're in the reverse mortgage, you still have to maintain the property and you still have to pay certain like fees on the property, like I said, property taxes, insurance. You still have to maintain the property.
Hmm.
And so that's probably why it's in foreclosure.
Right. Okay, Tarsha. And another question was or is, what is your opinion of the outlook for investors in this new year based on the economic forecast of inflation and the pending recession?
So I think in any market, there's always opportunity for investors. And it's just a question of how aggressive you need to be in your negotiations as it relates to the price that you put the property under contract for. I think that obviously values of homes are shifting with the shift in the market. The after repair value is going to be different than it probably was 6 months ago, because 6 months ago buyers were paying above asking price, well above asking price, and the market was just a lot more competitive as it relates to buyers. But now that's shifted, and so if you know that, then when you're negotiating on the front end as an investor, you have to take that into consideration. And so it's just a numbers game. I mean, I think that there's always opportunity. I think individual homeowners will always be distressed. You'll always find distressed homeowners, and that's the target audience for investors. And it's just a matter of being very diligent in understanding what that after repair value is going to be, what the buyers in the market are going to be looking for, and just pricing accordingly up front.
Tasha, Charlene has a question. Can you read that?
First 5 years and then refinance into a 5 years, which is 30-year. The first 5 years interest only. So I actually on a property did have an interest only mortgage, and then refinanced into a 30-year fixed. But I think she's saying a 30-year. So if it's 30 years, then it's not going to be 5 years interest only, 30-year fixed. So anything is possible. It's just a question of, do the numbers work? And so the answer is yes, you can get a buy and hold property with interest only, and then refinance it into a more conventional 30-year fixed rate or variable rate mortgage, it looks like you're saying, for the long haul. Anything is possible. It's just a question of, do the numbers work? And so when you do enter into a loan that has a variable rate, just know that they're going to be looking at the maximum rate when they're qualifying you for the loan. And so for investment properties, they're often going to be looking at the rental income and making sure that the rental income is going to cover the mortgage payments at the highest interest rate. And so if your interest rate is 1% for the first year, but then 3% in year 3, then they're going to qualify based on the 3% interest rate and not the 1% interest rate that you're starting out with. And so again, the numbers just have to work.
The only way I see what she's suggesting work is through owner financing. So you could set up owner financing with those terms right there, and then refinance after the 5 year period. And actually, this scenario is how I bought my first property many years ago. I was 23, and I set it up owner financing where it was interest only for the first 5 years. And so it's just like this, but that's owner financing. I don't think there's any.
I've done it with I just did it on this house. Like it was interest only for the first couple of years, and then I refinanced into a 30-year fixed rate. I mean, both were fixed rate, but one was interest only, and then I refinanced into one that was paying for interest and principal.
Was that with
So
Eagle,
those,
Eagle Bank?
yes.
And so how many years was? Oh, that was for 2 years.
Well, it could have been longer if I chose to extend it.
Okay.
It could have been longer and the rate would have adjusted. But it was a variable rate, but it was interest only.
Okay.
So I have a question. What's the benefit of doing the interest only?
It's just the payments are likely going to be lower than if you were were to do interest and principal. And so the idea is to find a loan that the interest payment is going to allow it to be lower, especially in a market where rates are high, and then you can refinance into a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, assuming that the rate will be lower in 5 years.
Okay. All right.
We got one more for you, Tarsha. Can you read that? If taxes or utilities are not paid on a reverse mortgage house, why wouldn't it become a tax lien property instead of going to foreclosure?
Well, the bank, remember a foreclosure means that the bank is basically taking back the property, right? They gave you a mortgage on the property and they're foreclosing on the mortgage. On a reverse mortgage, when you sign the documentation, you are agreeing to maintain the utilities, the taxes, and maintaining the property. And so part of the term of that mortgage is that if you don't, the bank will take the property back from you, foreclose on the mortgage. And so it's because those are the terms of the loan in a reverse mortgage, that you're going to agree to maintain. It's three things: maintain the property, pay the taxes, and pay the utilities. And so that's why it's not really a tax lien. It's going to be, the bank is going to come in and say, we want the property back. So alternatively, let's say you're making payments on your mortgage in a traditional situation, but you're not making payments on your taxes. That's when the jurisdiction would come in and put a lien on your property for tax purposes, but because you continue to make payments on your mortgage, the bank might not necessarily foreclose on the mortgage. But in this instance, in a reverse mortgage, part of the agreement is that, okay, we will allow you to not make mortgage payments, but you need to continue to make other payments on the property. And if you don't, we will foreclose on the mortgage.
It's the taxes and insurance that you have to maintain. They could care less about the utilities, but it's the insurance and the taxes. They're not going to let it go to tax sale, because basically, they've put up money. The mortgage company has put up money, and so they're going to get notified and they're going to pay the taxes. So it'll never go to tax sale on a reverse mortgage. They'll make those payments. They'll make your insurance payments as well, because it's honestly an asset that they own. And so if there's no insurance, the house burns down, there goes that asset for them. So they're going to keep up with the taxes and insurance anyway. So they'll keep up with those things. All right, Keith, you have any more questions?
No more questions.
Okay. And so you guys, let's just kind of go around. As I said earlier, one of the biggest things that we can do this year, and every year, is finding deals. And what I see is The investors that are finding the deals are making the money. And then, so that needs to be a focus. And that needs to be a focus for everybody. We've talked about the outlook of the year, for the year, and it's promising. It's very promising. There's lots of opportunities out here. And so you just have to know exactly what you're going to do. Let me start with you, Dana. As you look at 2023, you had a wonderful 2022. What are some of the things that you're going to continue to do, or maybe even do differently in 2023?
Well, in the beginning of 23, I plan on doing a lot more wholesaling. So I'm trying to line things up to set myself up, gear myself up for that, to get as many deals in front of me as possible. So I will be, I guess in a couple of weeks, I'll be complete with my renovation, and then I can focus and have some downtime to work on my business. So I plan on working on my business and stepping it up to the point where I'm getting deals in front of me. So the beginning of it, and then I'll go back to holding probably maybe by summertime. I'll go back to holding, but I plan on wholesaling for the first 4 to 6 months of 23.
Okay. And I know you bought a couple properties last year. You're finishing up one now that you bought. What is your outlook for 2023?
So I think what Dana was describing was his kind of cash flow strategy. Like, how is he going to get the cash in order to buy and hold? And so I think it's kind of the similar sentiment is, how am I going to get the cash that I need to buy and hold properties? And my goal next year is to buy a multi-family buy and hold property. And so it's just a matter of me strategizing about how am I going to get the cash to do that. And wholesaling is ideal, but I don't have to be very honest, the access that probably you and Dana have to wholesale deals. And so I'm just trying to think about how I can leverage either properties that I have or find other means of generating more income to use that income to buy and hold, so that ultimately I can have more buy and hold properties that cash flow, so that I can kind of resign on some of the active income activities that I'm going to be focusing on as an initial matter in order to generate more cash.
And so you said that you don't have the access that, let's say, Dana has or myself. You purchased a property in Springdale. How did you find that property?
Well, I think honestly, it is word of mouth. Like, I think that I was known to be someone that purchased properties, and somebody kind of approached me and said, "Hey, I have a property for you." But it doesn't come regularly. And so I'm just being honest, like it doesn't come as regularly as I see it coming for you and Dana. Dana, you're out there every single day, right? And like you're in the field, you're in the midst meeting with people that have distressed homes that they want to get rid of. Greg, you have like an established business really, where you are, agents come to you, people come to you every single day with deals. And I'm just being very honest. Like I'm not in that position, and a lot of us are not in that position. And so you just have to find what works for you and achieve your goals, whatever way you need to achieve your goals.
I think my point was, I think your mindset is, I don't have that access, but somebody knows that you're in the game because they referred you. Not only did they refer you to someone selling this particular house, that same person selling that house had more than one property, right?
Right.
So I think the point is, we can't be, I call my real estate agents secret agents. Part of the marketing is just letting people know that, hey, I buy houses. Now, you're not out in the field like Dana is, but you do run into people, real estate agents, and other people. You just have to continue to brand yourself. And so I'm going to be talking about branding. I don't know if you know this, but I'll be talking about marketing branding on Friday at the Bowie Library. And I think that would be a good opportunity for you to attend so you can learn more about branding and marketing so you could get more opportunities. It's just getting the word out, okay?
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the handout that we're using may be a little familiar to you.
Right.
Okay. Anything else from you?
No, I mean, I think the point is that find what works for you, and like do whatever you need to do to achieve your end goal. And for me, and it sounds like for Dana, for you, for Keith, maybe the end goal is buying and holding. And so instead of saying, okay, well, I don't have the money, find a way to get the money, because I think having the money is going to help you to acquire the property. And then when you acquire the property, you can cash flow from that property, and that's going to help to just increase your income. And so I think ultimately for everyone that's different, and the way to get to the funds that are needed, and funds are needed. Like, I don't think that we should give people the misimpression that funds are not needed. Funds are needed. Yes, there are circumstances where you can do owner financing, or you can, find creative ways of getting into homes. But ultimately, it can't hurt to have cash on hand for maintenance purposes. If you choose to refinance, or if you choose to make any changes or renovations to the property, it can't hurt to have that cash on hand. And I think it's just a cushion that is prudent when you're an investor. And so find what works for you, but don't give up. Don't give up on the goal of buying and holding if that's your goal. And then don't give up on your goal if you're wholesaling, to your point. Just find a way to make it work for you. And, maybe for me, I need to tap back into doing the postcards, or like you said, just letting everyone know what I do and what I'm interested in. And,
You never know.
it's only one deal that you need in order to achieve your goals.
And one last thing for you before we get to Keith is I read an article, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where a lot of the hedge funds, traditionally they invest in big development projects, commercial projects like Blackstone and some of those guys. They're really getting into residential real estate, buying what we're buying, residential real estate, and renting them out. They're going to the auctions and different ways of getting these properties. And this is a recent article that I read. Why do you think that the hedge funds are really getting back into residential real estate?
I think it's for all the reasons that we just discussed. I mean, there's always opportunity in real estate. And as the market shifted during COVID, the commercial space shrunk. And so investors are still looking for ways to give a rate of return to their investors, to the individuals that are either entities and government agencies and other jurisdictions that are giving their money to these private equity firms to make money. And so they're investing in and watching what is making money and what's safer in a volatile market. And so that's why they're going after residential real estate, because relatively speaking, it's safe. You get a good return on your investment, and they can keep their investors happy. And again, with commercial real estate kind of shrinking during COVID, and really uncertainty around when it will ever, if it will ever bounce back to where it was prior to COVID, it's a safe bet.
And we do have more and more people renting now. I think it's like 40% of the workforce in Baltimore rent.
Mm.
And so I think a gentleman asked the question earlier. I forget the question, but is Baltimore a good area to wholesale, to run a wholesale business, to run a buy and hold business? And the answer is yes. When you talk about ROI, return on investment, no better than Baltimore. And so it's a really good area. Keith, what's your outlook for 2023? You're sitting in a house that you purchased in 2022.
Yes,
Um,
good feeling too.
It's a good.
So I'm looking at this house. I want it rehabbed. This time next year when we're having this meeting, I want this house to have been rehabbed and for me to have, purchased another property. And I just want to go a little deeper into how are we going to get in front of people? How can I get in front? And I'm just going to commit to making calls. I mean, it's tried and true. And so I know you're always, you always promote that. I teach it every Thursday night. So I'm going to start getting in, 500-600 calls a day. It's about getting in front of people, I think. And so that's what I'm going to really be focusing on so that I can have a really good, you maybe get a couple of, I want to get a couple of wholesale deals in the first or second quarter so that we can begin the rehab work here. And, so I'm just looking forward to, I've got a lot of goals. And so I'm really motivated.
Good. And so I think it's going to be a great year for everyone. I have a number of goals, one of which is I'd like to wholesale at least one property a week. And so I'm on target for that. I put together a marketing strategy probably starting in October so I could start the year off strong. And so far so good. So I have a really good marketing strategy to try to do at least one wholesale a week. I don't really have a goal in terms of the number of doors, but I'd like to buy as many doors as possible, buy and hold. And my biggest goal for the year is just really working on my mental health, my nutrition, working on mind, body, and soul is my number one goal. Is to stay as healthy as possible. I'm coming off of COVID. And so just kind of mind, body, and soul is kind of my biggest goal for the year. And I feel like if I just really focus on that, everything else will just kind of happen for me. And so I want you guys to have big goals as well. And whatever that is. The panel talked about wholesaling, buying and holding. Know that you guys have a great resource here. We can all help you, and many more. We'll have some panelists. Let's see, Andre Cooper. Andre, I want you to be available Friday. Call Andre. I think Andre would be good for Friday.
Okay.
Because Andre does a lot of marketing and branding. Nobody brands better than Andre Cooper. And so he would be good for Friday. He's got a big sign on his vehicle, and he's doing his thing. And that's what it's all about. And a lot of these guys that are experiencing a lot of success really haven't been doing it long, definitely not as long as I have. And they're killing it. But it's just about getting the word out, and you just never know who's going to say, well, I understand that you buy houses. I know someone that wants to sell. You just never know. You just got to keep getting the word out. And I just believe if you do, the whole world's going to start to open up to you. And like I think Keith said, or somebody said, sometimes you just need one deal. And that one deal is a big deal. It's a big, big deal. Someone referred to property in Baltimore. I'll say this and I got to go. Referred a property in Baltimore to me last year. And in my mind, they just handed over to me $100,000 because when it was all said and done, I held the property. Once I renovated the property, rented it out, I got $100,000 in equity. That one property gave me that's a good year with just that one property. It gave me $100,000 on paper in equity that I can put on my personal financial statement And, you know, it'll help me in the future when I want to get lines of credit and things like that. So that's how you guys got to look at it. You got to look at it, you know, in those terms. And then you just keep adding that up, you know, 1 a year, 2 a year, whatever that is, you know, it just keeps getting better. All right, you guys, let me let you guys get out of here. Great panel. Thank you, Tarsha, Dana, Keith. And hopefully we'll see you guys on Friday. And let's just have a great year, you guys. Let's just have a great year like we did last year. But let's have that mindset of abundance. Let's take care of ourselves physically, and let's just really go for it. Let's do the best we can this year with no excuses. Let's do the best we can this year. Live up to our fullest potential this year with no excuses. All right, you guys, take care. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks for
Happy
the
New
invite.
Year, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.